Hello, welcome to RLUK 2022, Crowdsourcing at the Natural History Museum's Library and Archives, using the crowd to open up research library collections. A presentation by me, Lisa Cardy, Interim Head of Library and Archives, and my colleague, Ceri Pollard, Digital Special Collections Librarian. Library and Archives at the Natural History Museum is a rich and renowned resource for natural historians, researchers, artists, and academics. It has been developing its unparalleled collection of natural history literature, artwork, and information resources since the museum opened in 1881. A rich reservoir of scientific, historical, and social data is locked in the handwritten documents, illustrations, and artwork collections. This project looks at using the power of the crowd to generate machine-readable and unlocked data, using transcription and tagging to make the collections digitally discoverable, accessible, and open to all for the first time. This screenshot of the Library and Archives discovery layer of digitized collections shows a handwritten document on the left-hand side, and on the right-hand side, the machine-readable data which has been gathered by transcribing.
Hello, I'm Ceri Pollard, Digital Special Collections Librarian at the Natural History Museum. I'm going to talk about setting up and launching DUNA, processing the transcriptions we've received, and what we're hoping to do next. So we launched DUNA on Zooniverse in September 2020, and it ran until February 2021, so for 5 months in total. In that time, we received nearly 12,000 classifications from over 1,200 contributors on around 200 images from our collections. Here are some examples of the collections we put through the project. We started with the 2 images on the left, which are from a collection of drawings and descriptions of fish by 19th century naturalist Andrew Garrett. You can see from these and the other examples here that we tried to select a range of material. This was partly to test what types of material were most suitable, which were most popular, and which received the most accurate transcriptions. Some of them definitely proved more popular than others, and we're still working through the data to find out which could be deemed most suitable or successful. But all of these collections were completed and fully transcribed by users on DUNA, so there was an audience and appetite for all of them. We decided early on to use the crowdsourcing platform Zooniverse. Our main reasons for this were that it's a predominantly science-focused platform, and being a natural history museum, so are our collections. It has an existing community of volunteers that we could tap into. They provide a forum or messaging board for each project for engaging with volunteers, and they also have a well-documented and relatively easy-to-use project builder tool. This decision to use Zooniverse also brought with it a few factors that we needed to consider. For instance, we decided that we wanted to ask users to tag certain structural features as they were transcribing. While Zooniverse provides a few tagging buttons to assist with this, as you can see in the graphic here, it didn't provide all the tags that we wanted to use, and it didn't support TEI tagging. So we had to come up with a workaround for that, and in the end we asked users to either type in or copy and paste some of the additional tags that we wanted to use. But the biggest factor that we had to consider was that Zooniverse runs on a model of gathering several submissions for each image. So each image is presented to several users, who each submit a separate transcription. As a user, you can't see other people's submissions, so you're transcribing independently. And as the project owner, you then receive several independent transcriptions of each page, although you can set how many versions of each page you want to receive. Once you have all of these separate submissions, you then need a way of reducing them down to one definitive transcription of each page. At the time that we launched our project, Zooniverse didn't have any tools available for carrying out this aggregation on full-page transcriptions. It's worth saying that they were at the time developing a tool for aggregating line-by-line transcriptions, but as this wasn't quite ready at the time that we wanted to launch, and it would have meant changing our project processes slightly, we decided to go ahead and develop an aggregation and review process ourselves. To achieve this, we were recommended some work carried out by the Getty Research Institute, who had already tackled a similar problem. They had developed a method for comparing transcriptions using something called a similarity metric, and we decided to do something similar. We used a metric called the Levenstein distance, which calculates the minimum number of single character edits required to turn one passage of text into another. When that's expressed as a proportion of the length of the text, this produces a number between 0 and 1, 0 being two completely different texts with no overlapping characters, and 1 being two texts that are exactly the same. Using this metric, we created a Python script to compare each classification to every other classification of the same image, and the one that scored the highest average similarity was selected as the best transcription of each page. It's important to note here that this isn't necessarily the most accurate transcription, because there's no way to determine that computationally, but instead it's the most commonly transcribed version, or the submission that best represents the consensus. We also use Python to prepare the text for upload to our library management system, which for the purpose of full text searching meant identifying and removing some of the feature tags, and also to identify transcriptions requiring a manual review. In this way, we were able to automate quite a lot of the processes of selecting and reviewing transcriptions, but we couldn't eliminate the need for a manual review entirely. To make this more manageable, we set 4 criteria for which items would be automatically flagged for review. And this manual review requires a staff member to look through the selected transcription, compare it for accuracy against the original image, and then make any necessary changes. So we're currently working on reviewing the first collection that we launched on DUNA, which was the series of watercolour drawings of fish accompanied by full-page text descriptions that I showed you a moment ago. This collection consists of nearly 1,500 images, of which around 40% were flagged for manual review. Now, interestingly, this rate was higher for the earlier volumes that we uploaded from this collection, and much lower for the later ones. We're not sure of the exact reason for this, but it seems most likely that users became more familiar with the handwriting and the language over time, and also more confident in their own judgment as well. By far the most common reason for items being selected for review was that some text had been tagged as unclear by the transcriber. This was a way for users to point us towards passages that they were unsure of. Either they'd taken their best guess at the word, or there was text that they couldn't read at all. The next most common flagging criteria was a low average score. This meant that there was less of a consensus between the submitted transcriptions, so it was worth having someone manually check these items. With regard to the accuracy of the selected transcriptions, we've so far sampled a few items and compared them with a gold standard example transcription that we've created ourselves. These items came out with an accuracy of at least 80%. If you then take out the items that received a low average comparison score and would therefore have been flagged for manual review and manually corrected, the accuracy of these sample texts goes up considerably to between 97 and 99%. This has only been carried out in a very small sample so far, so it's not necessarily representative of the collection as a whole, but at the moment we think those numbers are very encouraging. So what's next for DUNA? As I've mentioned, we're working through the final review stages at the moment, and soon we hope to be able to begin releasing the digital assets with fully searchable text on our digitised collections platform. We're also planning to release a set of TEI files, including the tags recorded by the transcribers, for any users that might want to carry out any computational research on the transcriptions. And finally, we're currently preparing a new set of collections to be uploaded to the Zooniverse page, and we're hoping to relaunch DUNA with new images soon.